Welcome to this GiftWorks video. My name is Steve Faithful, and in this video, I want to show you how you can produce year-end receipts for your donations, and that is receipts for donations that have not yet been receipted. So throughout the year, if you've been receiving donations but haven't yet sent a legal receipt, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do that. Now, keep in mind, this video is not for those of you who are looking to simply produce year-end donation statements or donation letters. If you're looking to produce a year-end letter that contains maybe a list of the donations that have been received throughout the year, then there's another video that we've created talking about creating year-end statements or year-end letters. So make sure you look for that one. This video is for those of you looking to produce year-end legal receipts that have not yet been issued a receipt. So if you have donations throughout the year that you have not been sending a receipt to, or you didn't send a receipt after you received the donation, and you simply want to send one year-end one, this video is going to show you how. So let's get started sending legal receipts for donations that have not yet been sent a receipt. And whether this is a year-end receipt or just after a certain time period, it could be after a month, or it could be after a year or fiscal year, things like that. This video will show you how to do that. To get started, the first place I'm going to check is over in the mailing section of GiftWorks. And the reason I'm going to go to the mailing section is because I'm going to be looking in this donation receipts mailing list. This is a really important part to determine if you're ready to start producing your receipts. To produce receipts, or for a donation to be receipted, they must appear within this list. And for some of you, the question you need to first determine is whether or not all your donations are in this donation receipts mailing. So I'm going to click on this list just to get it started, and I'm going to choose all receipt groups because I'm going to just look at all the donations that exist in there. So I'm going to be looking at all 13. Now, I know I have a lot more than 13, so I know they're not in there, but for you, it's probably a good exercise to go in and look at these donations. You can customize this. I have the payment date. I'm going to move this up just so we can see it. Click OK. So I see I have all these dates that I say, okay, I'm looking down. Now I know I have a 2007 donation that's in there, and I have a bunch of 2012. And what I'm looking to do is produce receipts from the 2011 calendar year. And I see that they're not in here. And you may, too, realize that some of your donations are and some are not. For some of you, if all your donations are here and they need to be receipted, you're going to pick back up in a couple minutes. I'm going to go through real quick for those of you who your donations do not appear in this list and show you how to get them in here. So if your donations are all here and you're ready to go, then you're ready to go, and we'll finish this process in just a few minutes. So you may want to fast forward this video just a little bit. But for the next couple minutes, I'm going to show you how to get donations in here if they're not yet in here, which all mine are not yet in here. So I'm going to actually click cancel and get out of this mailing process because I need to make sure I get my donations into this donation receipts mailing. To do that, what I need to do is create a smart list to then put them in here. And so I'm going to first go over to smart lists, and I'm going to click on create a new smart list. And I'm going to click on I want to create a list of donations. And in this case, I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at under donation. First, I'm going to go under donation details. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for donations that their receipted setting is that they have not yet been sent a receipt. So I'm going to go first search for all donations that have not yet been sent a receipt. Click on next. And I'm going to see I have a list of 599 donations that have not yet been sent a receipt. But you'll notice that the dates are sort of all over the map in terms of I have 2007, 8, 9, 10, and so on. I want to make sure that I'm only looking at the 2011. So I'm going to go under Refine, and I'm going to go to Append More. And I'm going to choose donation dates. And I'm going to choose a donation date. I could choose either donation date or payment date. That would include payment date would be for those more of you who are looking at pledge payments and dealing with pledge payments. I'm going to go ahead and click on payment date just to incorporate a lot, and I'm going to go under custom dates, and I'm going to say is between 1/1/2011 and 12/31/2011, and click OK and click on done. Now you'll see if I go under my list, I now have come down to 89 donations, which is great. So I see if I scroll down, I have gifts and pledge payments, great. And the key part of this is making sure when I choose payment date, if I chose donation date, I would incorporate when certain pledge payments were set up, even if they had not yet been received. So I would generally recommend for all of you, make sure that you choose the payment date that's between 1/1 and 12/31, so you don't accidentally include pledge payments that have not yet been received. So I have a list of 89 donations that have not yet been sent a receipt, and that the actual payment date when the payment was received was between 1/1 and 12/31 of 2011. And that looks like a good list. These are the ones that I want to send receipts for. So I'm going to click on Next, and I'm going to just call these my 2011 donations to be receipted. And I'll just add it to my favorites and click on Save List. So I've now created a donation smart list of all my donations that have not yet been sent a receipt, but that need to. And I have 89 donations that fit that criteria. So, but the next step I need to do is I need to get now these 89 donations into this mailing process over here. So I'm going to come back to my smart list right here, and on the left-hand side, you're going to look for this Run Smart Update for this list. And I'm going to click on Run Smart Update. A smart update is like a batch update or a global change. Now, for each of these donations, I could right-click on the donation, click on Edit Donation, scroll down, and mark this that I need to issue a receipt for this donation and choose a receipt group that I want this to be a part of. I could do that, but doing that 106 or 89 times would get a little tiring. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that all in one fell swoop with our Smart Update. So I'm going to click on Run Smart Update for this list. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find the option that says Change Receipt Settings for Received Donations. And I'm going to click on Next. This smart update is going to be only going to make changes to this list of these 2011 donations to be receipted. That is those 89 donations. And I'm also, the setting I'm going to change is the receipt setting. So just like I manually did it a moment ago, I'm going to indicate that I do want to issue a receipt, and I'm going to put them into the year-end receipts. I'm going to kind of isolate or segment these receipts into this year-end receipt group. And when I'm ready, I can click Receipt Settings. But just a really quick warning, making sure that if it's a good idea to do a backup of your GiftWorks information prior to running this in the event something were to go unexpectedly, not as you had planned, so that you can always go back to a good backup in the event something were to happen. So make sure you do that before doing that. I've already done a good backup, so I'm ready to click on the Change Receipt Settings, which is going to go through, and it's going to change the receipt settings for those 89 donations. And if I click on Finish, now if I go back to my Smart Lists, and if I go back to my 2011 donations to be receipted, if I were to go down each one of these, I can actually customize this. And I'm going to scroll down to find some receipt fields. You'll see whether or not I'm going to show whether or not the receipt's ready to be issued, whether or not what receipt group they're a part of, and I'm also include the receipt number and date. So you can see all this information. So I'm going to scroll over. You see receipt number and date are all zeros for the receipt numbers, and they're blank for the dates. And if I scroll across, you'll see that they're all checked, meaning they're all scheduled to be receipted, and they're all in the year-end receipt group. So I'm going to go over to the mailing section now, and things should look a little different. So I see now that I have 102 receipts in this list. I'm going to click on this donation receipts, and I'm only going to choose the year-end receipt group since we know we put all those receipts in there. And I could even, if I wanted to, limit it by a date, so 1/1/2011. So you might have more donations that appear in that year-end receipts. You might have ones from 2012. So I'm just going to make sure I limit it by 12/31/2011. Click on Next. And you'll see under Choose Recipients that I now have 89 donations that need to be receipted. Choose Recipients, I see I have 89 donations. So that's good. We're exactly where we need to be in terms of ready to produce these 89 receipts. So this kind of picks up too where some of you might have already had the appropriate recipients, the appropriate donations in this list. So we're kind of picking off there. And one of the options I'm going to want to start with, I'm going to click on the Select Options link up at the top. Really important option that I want to choose is whether or not I want to send one receipt per donation or one receipt per donor. My guess is that most of you, in this case, if you've waited till the end of the year, you might want to produce one receipt per donor, but some of you may want to produce a single receipt for each and every donation. So if one donor gave 4 times, you're making the choice whether you want to produce 4 receipts, each with their own individual number, or one receipt per donor, meaning that one donor would simply get one receipt, listing all those donations with one receipt number. And that's a choice you'll need to make. I'm going to choose one receipt per donor, thinking that most of you in this situation may want to do that. I can go, once again, verify my recipients. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to select the receipt. So I'm going to go and I can find this. In this case, I'm going to use my gift receipt. And you'll see that one of the key things, I'm going to edit this letter. One of the key things to look at is this customized donation table, especially, and this is, I guess, primarily for those of you who have chosen to send one receipt per donor. Since you might have a number of donations, meaning you might have 4 donations for a single donor, this table is where those donations are going to appear. So a couple things. First of all, I can right-click on this and I can edit this donation table if I want. So I can show different columns that I want to show. Now I'm going to show, in this case, I could choose the different columns. I am just going to hide. I'm going to just hide certain columns. I only want to show, in this case, very simple, a date, an amount, and I'm not even going to hide the receipted amount. If you were just dealing with certain, perhaps if some of your donations are only a portion of it, meaning a tax deductible portion, then you might want to include, why don't I do that? I'll just show the receipted amount, and that way you're making sure you're showing the tax deductible portion. I can scroll down. I can include other ones. I'm going to hide some other ones. Hide. So I'm going to have a pretty small table, and great. And I'm going to click on OK. Another thing I'm going to do is I can also, if I want to hide, I'm going to shrink this table just by a point in terms of the font size, just to make sure I have enough room across here, depending on how big your table might be. And you want to make sure you highlight both the row before and the row after to ensure that the whole table gets resized properly. Now, and I can also include some specific notes. Here is a list of your 2011 donations. And I'll just bring that point size back up a little bit. And make sure I set this to be 10 again. Great. Now I'm ready. And you also see there's this receipt information, tax ID number, etc. Receipt number is up here. That's important to make sure that field is there. Once I'm ready to go with my letter, I can click on Next. I can click on Preview if I want to preview this letter. Great, and I can see, okay, date, receipted number. Now I can take that out. I missed that column before, so I'm going to go back to my letter. I'm going to edit this again. I'm going to right-click on this and say Edit this table. I see receipt number and date. That doesn't need to be there because this is the receipt. And click OK again. Go right back to my Generate Mailing. Preview it again to make sure everything looks great. Great, excellent date, receipted amount. And I can even just say, make one more change to my letter. Make sure everything looks really good. I'm going to right-click again, say Edit. On this receipted, I'm just going to say the donation amounts. And I'll set this to be 1.5 inches wide. Click OK. So you see, I want to make sure I customize that table to be really exactly the way I want it to look. Go back to Preview. And I say great date, donation amount, and in this case I have the appeal listed as well. So here's a list of your 2011 donations. The receipt number will get populated in a moment. And so I'm going to click OK once my letter looks good. And I'm going to click on the Generate Mail. Now you notice it's generating 81 recipient letters, which means that of those 89, some of them were combined so that we have about 8 donations that are duplicated, or not duplicated, but are part of a donor that's given multiple times. So that's why you see that 81 recipients. Great. Once I'm ready, I can then go ahead and print these receipts, or I could save them. It's an important part, so I go ahead and print. I go ahead and do my printing, click on Start Printing, and print those receipts, or save them to a document that I could print at a later time. But one of the most important parts of this whole receipting process is to go in and click the Done button. If I do not click the Done button, none of these donations will be receipted properly, meaning they won't be marked as having been receipted. So it's really, really important to make sure you click the Done button. A lot of people, we know, will just go on and click on the Donors button, and it'll give you this warning, but if you leave, it will not be recorded. So you want to make sure you go ahead and click the Done button. That's a really important step. So click the Done button. You say, okay, great, and it moves on. Now I'm going to go back to my smart list, and we can bring up this 2011 donations to be receipted. Now, because they've been receipted, this list is empty. And so that's an important thing to note in terms of these donations. Now they've all been receipted, the smart list should be empty because remember the smart list simply said, show me all donations that have not been receipted. And these have all been receipted now, so they're not going to show up. Now, so I'm going to refine this. I am going to remove this, click on Done, and now I see I have 121 donations totally that appeared within 2011. Some of them had been previously receipted, but I am going to customize this, scroll down a little bit, and just get down to my receipted information. So my receipt number, receipt date, click OK. Scroll across, you'll notice under receipt number, they all have a receipt number now. I just sorted it, and you'll see that a lot of them were receipted today. So we see all these with their numbers appropriate. So it's going through, it's showing me all the donations that have been receipted on today. So that shows you how to send out receipts for donations that have not yet been sent a receipt. If you remember, we first checked out the mailing, the donation receipts mailing, to make sure that all our donations appeared there, which they did. Which they did not. For some of you, they might have. For those of you who don't, you go and you create a smart list of donations. Remember, donations that have not yet been receipted. So once you get that donation smart list, you can then use a smart update to add them to, or to change the receipt settings for each one of those donations. Once you change those receipt settings, they'll appear here in the donation receipts mailing, and you can simply go through and produce the receipts, making sure that you design your letter the way you want it to look, and really important, making sure you're clicking that done button at the end of the process. So I hope this helps you, those of you who are looking to send out legal receipts for donations that have not yet been sent legal receipts, and we wish you the best in sending out, not only producing your receipts, but continued tracking your donations well. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.